mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about episode 8 of the Showtime limited series Dexter New Blood, entitled Unfair Game. In addition to just loving this episode, I thought this was a great episode, and I'm going to talk about why there's a lot of things that this episode did really, really well. But I want to first talk about how much I love this title. Unfair Game, I think, was a great title for this episode, and I love it because it works on several levels. There are several different types of ways you can look at this title, the Unfair Game. You have the mind games, okay? So, like, this whole episode, we see Kurt really, really leaning into this, I'm a good father figure to you, Harrison, and Dexter is a bad one. Like, he leans into this so heavy to the point where it's just like, it almost got laughable at a point. Not in a bad way, but it was just like, man, he's really, really putting in work and really selling this I'm a great dad, Dexter's a bad one idea. Then you have the literal games that he plays to help him make this point by, taking Harrison to, I don't want to call it a batting cage because it's within his school, but the same kind of setup as a batting cage at the school. And it's like the equivalent of the, what do they always talk about? Playing catch with your old man, instead of, he can't take, 6-year-old Harrison out back and throw the ball around and, do all that. So he takes him to this batting cage. It's like a slightly older version of the playing catch with dad thing. So he's playing literal games to help with his mind games. And then you also have the other interpretation of the word game. When you think of like wild game and hunting, you have Dexter being hunted like wild game. And on top of that, it's happening simultaneously with Harrison eating wild game, the deer, with Kurt. So like I like the idea of multiple types of games, but then I also like the multiple interpretations of the word game, whereas in, the games that we typically use, like sports and whatnot, versus game is in like wild game. So I thought this was a really clever title. It made me actually wonder, do they come up with the title? Well, they can't come up with the title first. So I guess they make the episode and then decide what they're going to be, what the title's going to be based upon what happened in the episode. But I don't know. But I don't know. I thought this was a really good title. And I didn't know if it was a thing where like they chose it based on what happened, or if they already kind of had that title in mind and they were like, let's really play into this game theory here. But I don't know. Not theory, but theme. I don't know, but I really liked it because I'm watching it like, this is very well done what they're doing with this title here. So, like I said, I love this episode. It had the excitement. It had mind games. And then it had something that you don't get too often in television, at least not overall. You get it in good television and film, but you don't get it too often because, well, at the end of the day, most stuff's not that good. But this showcased characters being smart and using their intelligence to move the plot along. Whereas like bad shows do the opposite. They'll have characters be stupid so that they miss the obvious things that would I guess, I don't know, alert them to whatever should be going on. And as they're missing these things, it allows the show to kind of like drag out. Like, you look like a situation where you might be like, if this character was thinking like a normal person would think, they would have noticed blank early on and this whole thing would have been wrapped up. And we go, but they can't do that because it's 10 episodes and not 2. Or they can't do that because they can't notice it 20 minutes into the movie when it's 2 hours long. So they make characters stupid so they can draw out these outcomes. Because if things happen normal, they'd be wrapped up faster. But this episode used characters being smart to move the plot along in a feasible way and at a good pace. And that's fairly rare. So I'm going to talk about that part as well. But starting off, I really liked the beginning of this episode. I thought this scene at the beginning of the episode before the title was shown was a really exciting scene. So it opens up with where we left off last week with Dexter being kidnapped. He's in the back of this guy's truck, and I didn't reply. I don't think I replied to the comment, but one of you guys put in the comments that guy was the same guy who was pretending to be mad at the hotel. So I didn't notice that, so shout out to whoever that was that pointed that out. Actually, I haven't verified it. I didn't go back and look, but it like clearly this guy is working for Kurt, so I'm cool with believing whoever that was that said that that was the guy at the hotel. So Dexter's in the back of this guy's truck, and then on one hand he's obviously he's tied up and bound, can't go anywhere, but he's also, I guess, while he's struggling to come to, he's dreaming about Harrison violently killing those other wrestlers from who's they broke his friend's arm. Harrison broke their friend's arm. He has this, you know, pretty brutal dream. Then he wakes up, he separates his binds far enough to kind of use them to choke the guy across the mouth, and he ends up looking like the Joker from The Dark Knight, which I thought was really cool. And then he crashes the car, and there's a good cool shot that if you've never if you're someone from a warm climate, you probably can't really relate to this, but there's the feeling of losing control of your car in ice and snow, and the way it can spin and what that feels like. They did that with the camera work here when he starts to kind of spin out after once he loses control of the car from Dexter choking him. There's a shot, and I can't even really describe what it was like to watch, as in like what I was seeing on the screen. I just know what I felt, and it felt like that feeling of losing control of your car, and you start to like fishtail or spin around a little bit. It felt like that, to the point where I almost got like a split second. I felt like I was in a car that was out of control. Like I was like, whoa. And whoever came up with that or how that was shot, I thought it was really fucking cool. And then Dexter gets thrown from the car, which I also liked the fact that Dexter was virtually okay, even though he got thrown from a car, because he landed in some pretty thick snow. So like there were things that were happening in this episode that I thought this could be something that could make the whoever wrote this or directed it look bad, and they considered it. Like I thought before it was pointed out in the show, I thought, okay, 1, Dexter's leaving a blood trail, 2, Dexter's leaving footprints, and both of those things were addressed. So I was very pleased with that as well. Like I said, very well written episode. But yeah, I really like that scene. Guy gets out with the gun, and Dexter just goes fuck and just starts running. And then again, a show they treated us like smart viewers, which you guys know I love. He points the gun at Dexter's head, doesn't shoot, and then I think he even kind of like sighed or something like that, and then lowers the gun and shoots Dexter in the leg. And like that, for me, that registered. I was like, oh, Kurt must want Dexter alive, because I mean he kidnapped him instead of killing him. So I'm like, Kurt must want Dexter alive. And then the guy vocalizes that later in the episode, but I like the fact that they let me figure that out on my own, just from him changing the shot that he took. So again, I liked the show treating me like a smart viewer as well. Let's see, where was I? So I also talked about characters being smart. I like that this guy hunting Dexter was smart too. Like he didn't fall for Dexter's little river trick. I like when he gets there, he notices that the knife is missing, and he says something like he brought a knife to a gunfight. And I'm thinking at that point, I'm like, Dexter might not be in as good of a condition, as good a set of circumstances as he thinks he's in, because he's continuously underestimating this guy. Like this guy has done a good job hunting Dexter, and I like the fact that it didn't feel like it was some dumb fucking henchman who was going after Dexter. It felt like somebody who was a seasoned hunter, whether that be of animals or people or both, and he knew what he was doing. And I like that. I like that they didn't make him dumb, even though he looked the part. He didn't act it. I like that. Let's see. Also, as far as characters being smart, I like that Dex used the guy's face and like pulled his eyes open, because even that little bit, he could have done nothing, but I like that they had him use the phone to text Kurt, so that way Kurt wouldn't be on to him that like maybe something went wrong. I like the fact that he used his face to unlock the phone, but I like the fact that he moved his eyelids open. Like another show might have just had him hold it up to his face, and we would have sit here and called bullshit on it, because we're like, okay, it's not gonna open if the eyes are closed. But Dexter was smart enough to open the eyes, or the writers were smart enough to write Dexter opening the eyes. uses the face to unlock the phone and texts Kurt, and that bought him more time. So like this is such a smart episode at times, and I think in a lot more subtle ways than I think are than what you would see on the surface. And then also, again, characters being smart. I literally put in my notes, wow, Angela's a really good cop. Because like Angela had a really good episode here. And I like how Angela has figured out Dexter via things that we have seen already in the series that she's like using clues that are available to her. It's not like Dexter being dumb and messing up. It's not her figuring something out that's not really there. It's like, how would she know that? She's just linking things together. There's some good fortune as well, but she's linking things together that are already there, that have been in the episode, that the audience can all remember, and she's using those things to figure it out. And there was a moment in this episode where I'm just like, I don't know, I don't see how she gets past this, and she did. So what happens in short? Logan comes in to talk to her, and he kind of clumsily just gives up the fact that he had this whole situation with Dexter and that drug dealer Miles and Harrison ODing, and while she was off in New York hobnobbing with Batista. And she's, intrigued by this, like, what do you mean Jim got in this fight, whatever. And he explains what happened. He saw Dexter beating up Miles, and then he explains how Miles gave up that guy Jasper, the supplier, and how he, everything about how he was released, all this kind of stuff, right? And Angela, again, smart, she goes to talk to Miles and then finds out, oh yeah, he injected me in the neck. Oh yeah, look here, I still have the mark. So that, like, step one in figuring this out was that he revealed the needle mark, which would not have happened had Angela not pursued this and found reasons to dig into it. So she finds the needle mark, takes the picture of it, which at the time I even thought, like, what are you taking a picture of it for? How could you use that? What you gonna do with that picture? And I'm like, because I'm thinking like, okay, she's gonna maybe find out like maybe there's like some ketamine residue on like on his neck, like I don't know, but so we leave it there. She then goes to the coroner to talk about Jasper's body. And he's just like, yeah, no, I think it looked like he OD'd. He was like, unless somebody put a gun to his head and made him snort it, this guy just fucking OD'd. And this is the point where I'm just like, I don't know, man. Angela, how are you going to connect this Jasper guy to Dexter? And then sure enough, and I even like how they framed it. She's like, let me check one more thing. And I'm thinking she's going to, I can't remember what I thought she was about to do. But she like turns his head to one side and you see his neck. Then she turns his head to the other side, which reveals the needle mark in his neck. And that's when I was like, oh, wow. Like, I don't know why. Maybe I was having a dumb moment and I should have been sitting here like, oh, she might find a needle mark on his neck too. I don't know why I didn't make that connection. I feel like I probably should have. And most times I would have. But in this case, it did not occur to me. And I just looked at it as like, wow. That took me by surprise. I'm like, whoa, there you have it. You have the connection. And again, well written with things that we already know about and we saw on the show. There's no luck here. There's no, a dumb character having good fortune. This is just good cop work. So I really like that from Angela as well. Let's see what else I have. Oh, and then lastly, she searches ketamine. She's looking at the pictures of him, and she had Googled Dexter, and then she Googled ketamine and found a link to the Bay Harbor Butcher. So I'm assuming she's going to find out that the Bay Harbor Butcher victims had ketamine in their system or something to that effect. I also think it's going to come around. And if you guys remember when I talked about it in this episode, I said this was fucking stupid on Dexter's part. But I think it's going to come back around. She's going to find out that Dexter took that ketamine and those other supplies from that veterinarian. I think that was like episode 3, maybe. I bet you that shit comes up. And she finds out like, oh yeah, Jim was over here and he took some ketamine. And she'd be like, wait, what? He took some what? Yeah, the walls are closing in on Dexter real bad because Angela's a damn good cop, just like Deb, or at least just like he would say about Deb. So lastly, I loved how we spent this whole episode with Kurt really leaning into this father figure thing for Harrison, and it works. Like, he had Harrison totally on board. He put his phone on airplane mode. He's like, I'm gonna eat this venison. We have a good time. Kurt said, what did Kurt say? Like, if it was me, I would have never left you. Like, okay. Like, man, he's really laying it on thick. And in one felt swoop, for whatever reason, he decides, okay, now after I finally won Harrison over and he is fully pro me and anti Dexter, he for some reason at that moment decides, all right, now it's time to kill him. Okay. And then in one fell swoop, the actual father comes in and saves the day. And now it's going to be a complete 180. Like, he had him, and now it's going to be, nope, now it's going to be completely off of Kurt and pro Dexter from Harrison's POV. And I like how they essentially crumbled all of that work that Kurt put into Harrison in just one moment. And that was a scary moment. Like, the whole, I knew he's going to tell him to run. I'm like, what's going to happen? I figured Dexter's going to show up, but what's he going to do? Kurt disappeared somehow. We see in the preview next week that Kurtz is going to show up to, like, some, I guess, at their Christmas dinner or some shit. Like, that's some, like, that's the kind of escalation that I am totally here for. The idea of, like, what I did. I was about to kill your son. I want to kill you. I know you killed my son. And we're just going to sit here and we're going to have a really, really awesome conversation at your Christmas dinner around your girlfriend police chief. Like, that's going to be so cool next week. So I'm really excited for that. But yeah, Dex says he's going to tell Harrison everything. And he starts with talking about his dark passenger and whatnot. And it looks like he is going to tell everything next week. So 2 episodes left. This is ending really strong. The idea of, I don't think a second season, because I feel like this was written to end Dexter. Like, I feel like Dexter's going to die. But it does kind of seem like this could turn into the starting point for an entirely new series. Like, I hope they wouldn't call it Harrison, but like a new season that's essentially the same as Dexter, but with Harrison as Dexter, the killer, and with Dexter as his Harry, just his ghost advisor, something like that. So maybe you could call it something else, but where Harrison is the star of it. I don't know if that actor can manage to be as endearing as Michael C. Hall, but I think we might see. So I hear the show's doing well, so seems likely. But we will worry about that whenever that day comes. And right now, I'm going to wrap this one up, and I will see you guys next week for episode 9, the penultimate episode of what maybe the last we see of Dexter, maybe not, but we'll see. Till then, peace.